why has democracy succeeded in America? Of course, by succeeded, I mean comparatively, not literally, not in the present. But what makes for the prospect of some sort of radical democracy spreading outward and growing up? Why is the power that was once so carefully preserved at the top of the pyramid by the original framers of the Constitution seem drawn inexorably downward and outward, in spite of the best efforts of the right to stop this? It's the hard part about being left in this country, the American left. Can't help but trip over these petrified little fetishes. Freedom. That's the worst, you know. For God's sakes, Jean Kirkpatrick will go on and on about freedom. So what does that mean, freedom, when she talks about it? Or human rights. You have Bush talking about human rights. What are these people talking about? They might as well be talking about the mating habits of Venusians. These people don't begin to know what ontologically freedom is, or human rights. They see these bourgeois, property-based rights of man type rights, but that's not enfranchisement, not democracy, not what's implicit. The potential within the idea, not the idea with blood in it. That's just liberalism, the worst kind of liberalism. Really bourgeois tolerance. And what I think AIDS has shown us is the limits of tolerance, that it's not enough to be tolerated, because when shit hits the fan, you find out how much tolerance is truly worth. Nothing. And underneath all that is intense, passionate hatred.
Uh-huh.
Don't you think it's true?
Uh-huh, it is.
Yeah, power is the object not being tolerated. Fuck assimilation. But in spite of all this, the thing about America, I think, is that people with here of every race, we can't ultimately, what defines us isn't race, but politics. Not like any European country where there is an insurmountable fact of a kind of racial or ethnic monopoly or monolith. Like all Dutchmen or Dutch people are, well, Dutch. And the Jews of Europe were really never Europeans, just a small problem facing the monolith. And here there's so many small problems that it's just a collection of small problems, and the monolith is missing. I suppose you can count the monolith of white America. White, straight, male America.
Which is not unimpressive, even among monoliths.
No, but when the race thing gets taken care of. Oh, and I don't mean to minimalize how serious it is. I know it is. I know this is an incredibly racist country, but it's like the British. All these blue-eyed pink people, and it's weird. I mean, I'm not at all Jewish looking. Okay, maybe I am, but everyone in New York is. Okay, maybe not everyone, but okay, so in England, in London, I walk into bars, and I feel like Sid the Yid. You know, like Woody Allen in the pious dress and the gabardine coat, like never... Not so actively despised. I mean, not like they're Germans, who I still think are terribly anti-Semitic. And racist, too. Black racist. They pretend otherwise, but anyway, this one time I met this black gay guy who talked with a lilt, even though he said his family had been living in London since before the Civil War, the American one. And he told me that the British never let him forget that he wasn't blue-eyed or pink. And I said, me too, these people are anti-Semites, but... He said the British Jews have the clothing business all sewn up, and that blacks there can't get a foothold. And it was an incredibly awkward moment of just... Oh, I mean, here we were in this bar, but it was gay. So, but it was a pub, and it had the beams and this plaster and these 2-day-old fish and egg sandwiches that were just so British, so old. And I thought, well, there's no way out of this now, because both of us are too much immersed in the history. Hope is dissolved in the sheer age of this place, where race is what counts, and there is no real hope for change. It's the racial destiny of the Brits that matters to them, not the political. Whereas here in America...
Here in America, race doesn't count.
No, you can't be hearing that. Look, race, yes, but ultimately race here is a political tool. Racists just try to use race here as a tool in a political struggle. Like spiritualists, they try to use stuff like, are you channeled? Are you enlightened? Are you centered? This reaching out for a spiritual past in a place where no indigenous spirits exists, only Indians and Native Americans. And we killed them off now, so there are no ghosts here. No gods, no spirits. There are no angels in America. There's no spiritual past, no racial past. There's only the political and the decoys and the ploys to maneuver around the inescapable battle of politics. This shifting downwards and outwards of the political power to the people.
Power to the people! Amen! Oh my goodness, would you look at the time? I gotta...
What? You think this is naive or racist or something?
Well, it is certainly something. Look, I just remembered, I do have an appointment, so I should...
No, I don't want to speak from a place of privilege.
I'm sitting here thinking eventually he has got to run out of steam. So I let you rattle on, saying about maybe 7 or 8 things that I find to be really offensive, but I know you, Lewis. And I know the guilt fueling this peculiar tirade is obviously already swollen bigger than your hemorrhoids, so
I do not have hemorrhoids.
I hear different. May I finish?
Yes, but I do not have hemorrhoids.
And so when I finally able to get a word in...
Pryor told you. He's an asshole. He had no right to do that.
Promise, Lewis, Pryor is not a subject.
You brought him up.
I brought up hemorrhoids.
Indirect, passive-aggressive.
Not unlike, I suppose, banging me over the head with your theory that America doesn't have a race problem.
Oh, be fair. I did not say that.
Not exactly.
But
it was close enough. Because it's been that blood, I would just walked out.
You deliberately misinterpreted what I'm... Would you
I
just let me...
No! What? Talk? You've been running your mouth nonstop since I got here. Yada, 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 blah, 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 up the hill, down the hill, playing with your monolith and girlfriend.
Joined in
it
at
truly
any time.
is an awesome spectacle, but I got better things to do with my time than to sit here listening to this racist bullshit.
I am not a racist.
Oh, come on.
Okay, maybe I am a racist.
I really hate that. It's no fun picking on you, Lewis. You're so guilty. It's like throwing darts at a glob of Jell-O. There's no satisfying hits, just quivering. The darts just pop in and vanish.
I just think when you're discussing lines of oppression, it gets very complicated.
Oh, is that a fact? You know, we black drag queens have rather intimate...
Ex-black drag queen.
Actually, XX.
You're doing drag again?
Maybe. I don't have to tell you. Maybe.
Well, I think it's sexist.
I didn't ask you.
Well, it is. I think the gay community should adapt the same attitude towards drag as black women have towards black blues singers.
Oh my, we are walking dangerous tonight.
Well, I mean, it's all internalized oppression, right? I mean, the masochism, the
Lewis,
stereotypes.
Are you deliberately trying to make me hate you?
No, I mean,
are you deliberately transforming yourself into an arrogant, sexual, political Stalinist / racist, flag-waving thug for my benefit?
You know what I think?
What?
You hate me because I'm a Jew.
I'm leaving.
It's true.
You have no basis except... Louise. It's good to know you haven't changed. You are still an honorary citizen of the Twilight Zone. And after your pale white polemics on behalf of racial insensitivity, you have a flaming fuck of a nerve calling me an anti-Semite. Now I really got to go.
You called me Lou the Jew.
That was a joke.
Well, it was hostile. I didn't find it funny.
It was 3 years ago.
So?
You just called yourself Sid the Kid.
That's different.
Sid the Kid is different than Lou the Jew.
Yes.
Well, someday you'll have to explain that to me, but for right... You hate me because you hate black people.
I do not, but I do think most black people are anti-Semitic.
Most black people? That is racist, Lewis, and I think most Jews are...
Louis Farrakhan.
Ed Koch.
Jesse Jackson.
Jackson, oh really, Lewis? This is...
Hymietown.
Lewis, you voted for Jesse Jackson. You sent checks to the Rainbow Coalition.
I'm ambivalent. My checks bounced.
Oh, your checks bounce, Lewis. You're ambivalent about everything.
What's that supposed to mean?
You may be dumber than shit, but I refuse to believe you can't figure it out. Try.
I was never ambivalent about Pryor. I love him, I do.
Nobody said different.
Real love and ambivalence Real love isn't ambivalent.
Real love isn't ambivalent. I swear, that's a line from my favorite best-selling paperback novel, In Love with the Night Mysterious, except I don't think you ever read it.
No, I haven't.
You ought to. Instead of spending the rest of your life trying to get through democracy in America. It's about this white woman whose daddy owns a plantation in the Deep South in the years before the Civil War, the American one. And her name is Margaret, and she's in love with her daddy's #1 slave, and his name is Thaddeus. And she's married, but her white slave owner husband has AIDS, antebellum insufficiently developed sex organs. And there's a lot of hot stuff going down when Margaret and Thaddeus can catch a spare torrid 10 under the cotton-picking moon. And then, of course, the Yankees come and set the slaves free, and the slaves string up old daddy, and so on. Historical fiction. Somewhere in there, I recall Margaret and Thaddeus find the time to discuss the nature of love. Her face is reflecting the flames of the burning plantation. You know, the way white people do. And his black face is dark in the night. And she says to him, Thaddeus, real love isn't ever ambivalent. Thaddeus looks at her. He's contemplating her thesis. And he isn't sure he agrees.
Treatment.
Help me.
I beg your pardon?
You're a nurse. Give me something. I don't know what to do anymore. Last week at work, I screwed up the Xerox machine, like, permanently. And then I tripped on the subway steps and I broke my glasses and cut my forehead. It's like the mark of Cain. Stupid, right? But it won't heal. And every morning I see it and I think mark of Cain and biblical things like people who betray what they love, betray what's truest in themselves. And I feel cold. Just cold for myself. And every night I miss him. I miss him so much, but then the sores and the smell and where I thought it was going, but I mean, I could be sick too. I don't know. Belize, would you tell him that I love him? Would you do that?
I've thought about it for a long time. I still don't understand what love is. Justice is simple. Democracy is simple. Those things are unambivalent. But love is very hard. And it goes bad for you if you violate the hard law of love.
I'm dying.
He's dying. You just wish you were. Cheer up, Louis. Look at that heavy sky out there.
Purple.
Purple? Boy, what kind of homosexual are you anyway? That's not purple, Mary. That color up there is mauve. All day today, it has felt like Thanksgiving. Soon this ruined nation will be blanketed white. You can smell it. Can you smell it?
Smell what?
Softness, compliance, forgiveness, grace.
No.
I can't help you learn that. I can't help you, Louis. You are not my business.
Smell what? Ow. Snow.